What's up, guys? I just wanted to make a video real quick because I saw a comment on the Cirkul group about taking apart one of these sips, and I figured, what the hell, I'll make the video. So first thing I'm going to need is a flathead screwdriver. You don't have to use a flathead screwdriver, number one, because this is probably not clean and you're putting that near your mouth. So I don't recommend doing this. I'm doing it right now just for the video. Probably want to use something plastic or something clean, maybe even a butter knife fresh out of the dishwasher if you wash it yourself. Or don't do this anyway. There's no reason to do this. The only part that you really need to do is the part that I'm going to show you first. You don't need a screwdriver. And then from there, if you want to take it apart further, which some cases you'll get a sip that you can't get any flavor out of, you can adjust it. So I'm going to show you. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to shake some of the excess water off. I'm going to shake it over here. So this sip, it's kind of obvious the water comes in here and comes out there. But if you want to get to the foil bag inside, just pull. And then this one is set to 10. And it's still pretty full. Well, at least that's the impression that a lot of people have. So I'm going to open this up and let's see how much flavor is really in this. So I'm going to squeeze. It's going to bubble a little bit. So most of that's air, but there's actually a good portion still in here. See, it's starting to pop out the top. So let me get some of that air out first. So we'll start from the bottom. That is a lot. So look at that. All that flavor is still inside. Let me move that foil out of the way so you can see. So that's all still flavor. And let me taste it, make sure it's not just water. Oh yeah, that's flavor. So why does this happen? Well, Cirkul says if you turn it upside down and you shake it, it gets all that flavor to the bottom. Well, if you saw me pushing all that air out, most likely you're sucking on the air that's trapped in there. So that's the first thing. Second thing, this flavor, it's coming out as you drink it, and it has to, kind of be gravity fed, but also the suction pulls it out however much you have this dial open. But that's a lot of flavor. So let me just show you how much flavor is still in this. And I'm going to forward this link to Cirkul so they can kind of address that. So it's already dripping out. Yeah, that is it's a lot of flavor. So I don't have a measuring cup, otherwise I'd measure it. But look at all that flavor that's still in there. So it's not just in your head. You're probably throwing away sips that have plenty of flavor. And I'm making a mess, and it's probably gonna be sticky, but that's a lot of flavor. So what's the deal, right? This is the typical outcome. I've taken apart most of my cartridges, and usually they look like this. Maybe they'll have a little bit of air left in them, or a couple drops. But this is the outcome. This is what you should have. Maybe in a perfect world, maybe down the line they'll be able to get it to where this is the standard, but you're gonna end up with some air pockets. You're gonna end up with some leftover flavor that you couldn't get out at 10. But here's what people are doing. So let me move my bottle to the background and wipe up some of that flavor. So here's the next thing. So this blue ring, which soon will be white, is kind of the base that holds the valve where the flavor comes out. So if you look inside, it's locked in there. And originally I tried to separate it from the bottom, but it makes a mess. So this was something that Cirkul actually sent me as instructions. So right now it's on 10. Well, I'm going to turn it back to 1 or 0. So it's at 0. There's the X. And the reason you want that is because you're going to turn it one rotation. So I'll show you that. So it's on 0. you're going to put the screwdriver in between that crease between the blue line and the white. So I'm just going to do that right now. And when you get in there, you'll hear kind of a plastic pop. And I just go around and work it like a paint can. So I know this isn't very easy to see, but if you twist it, that top comes off. Now, don't let it go flying because you're still going to want to use this. All right, so I have it separated, and you can see there's this little valve that has 3 notches on it, and that's lined up with that inside of there. So let's go ahead and just lay it over top. Don't connect it. And you'll see the X still in there. No, it's not that easy to see. But what you're going to do is keep in mind where that X is, because that's how this lid is going to line back up. So if you look, that valve is next to the X on this one. It may not be the same on all of them, but so this notch is next to that X. So I'm going to open this valve. So you're going to go clockwise, not counterclockwise. You know, go against your righty-tighty, lefty-loosey mentality. So when you turn it to the right, you're actually opening that valve. And be careful because it will come out completely. You don't want that much flavor. That's probably an 11. So, all right. So I have it back the way it was, just to show you one more time. So it's on there tight past the X. So what I'm going to do is turn clockwise once. What that does is it opens it up just slightly to where 10 is now going to be much stronger. I know this seems extreme to get what you paid for, but this is probably going to help you get all the flavor out of your next one. So you're going to line the lid back up to the X like you had before. Lock it in. And now X, or 0, is already open one rotation. Not a full rotation, but just slightly. So rather than starting on 5, you may want to start on like 3. And then that way you're already getting more flavor. And by the time you get to 10, that valve is completely open and that plastic piece isn't going to go rattling around. So we'll do that on a new one. So this is watermelon. Watermelon's pretty awesome by itself, but it's one of those flavors that people say it's not very strong. Now again, this is just for the purposes of explanation. I don't recommend using a screwdriver. You're putting this near your mouth, not sanitary. So if you want to take the bottom off, you can reveal the full bag. This is what it looks like when it's full. If you'll notice, it's pretty much the size that the other one was, minus the air, or with the air. And then it's probably why I only got 3 of my 32-ounce bottles out of it than the normal 4. But I usually get between 4 and 6 before it starts getting really, really weak. And I like mine on a 5. All right, so anyway, so it's on 0. I'm not going to pop the top yet. I'll go ahead and work the screwdriver in here just so that way I can get the lid off. You see I've already got the one side cracked. Work around the edge just like you do a paint can. Alright, so perfect example. This one is actually a little bit further past the X, so you just got to keep a note where that starting point is. So I'm going to turn clockwise, break that seal, and I'm going to go 1/3 rotation. So I'm still in that same spot, but it's still really loose. Now, I imagine that when you turn that, it breaks the seal, and that's why it doesn't ship this way. So it may be a recommendation, these numbers, separate them, and that way you can turn more and get more flavor out. I don't know, but for now, this is what I'm doing for the weaker ones. So I'm going to line up that X. It should just seat normally. If I turn it a little more and it doesn't seat normally, that's not what I want. So it seats normally, clicks back into place. Make sure that that line is fairly, the gap is closed all the way, if not just barely open. But you'll hear it snap in place. Go ahead and put this plastic cover back on. Make sure that's locked in place, because the previous ones before this lid with the sport top, this would fall into the water. It wasn't as secure for some reason. And we're gonna throw this in here. Let's go ahead and pop the top. Brand new sip. And right now it's on 0. I'm gonna try it on 0. Well, on 0 it's already strong. So I'll do a follow-up video once I get further down this flavor and whatever the results are. So that's all for now. Hey everybody, so follow up to earlier, I took a video of taking this apart, changing the opening just slightly, and then drinking all day. So strange results. I only got 3 fill-ups out of this. So usually I get probably like 5 or 6, and there's still water in here. So I turned it all the way up to 10, and on top of it being water, it's leaking. So also not good. So even on 10, all the way up right now, it's just water. And I even get to the end of my sip where it doesn't taste like water, and I'll squeeze the rest of the bag in and move on to the next flavor. So let's pick this apart and see what we got now. Shake off the excess water. Set that aside. Obviously it's still leaky. Alright, so this bag, it's pretty much empty. There's a little air in there. So let's see. Nope, that's water. So the good news is I was able to get every last drop out of this. Yeah, there's nothing in there. Bad news is I ran through it more than twice as fast opening it up. So first of all, don't open this up and try to mess with it, because it's set up the way it is for a reason. Then you take the top off, which of course now it's much looser than it was. More loose? Much loosest? It's looser. So I'm gonna pop this open. Right now it's on 10. There's tons of water leaking out. Okay, so it looks like it's definitely empty. And I know people were talking about refilling these, but there's no point. You get 4 of these. Yeah, it's just water. It doesn't make sense to refill these. Just get flavors, and then you could always message them if you have any problems, and they'll give you $5 off your next order. So it's really only 11 bucks. How much are you spending for the little squirty things? And it's not the same. So I used all of that. Only gave me 3 fill-ups. Got about a quarter left in there of water. So I'm gonna move on to a new sip. I had that on 0 the whole time, by the way. So that was on 0, and it wasn't enjoyable, those 3 fill-ups. It was just way too much flavor. I couldn't control it. So here's the flavor, and it's blackberry. So I'm gonna throw this in. Just gonna taste it regular, so you can hear a little seal being broken. Throw it on 4.5. That's good stuff. So I'm gonna try it on 7 for a second. Yeah, so the entire sip that I had earlier today was the equivalent of 7 all day long. So I don't know if 7 is basically 1 turn. I mean, it surely doesn't seem like much of a turn. So let's say the line is here, and I need to go 1/3 turn. Yeah, that's about changing it to a 5 as the default. So when I cranked it up to like 9 once I ran out, it actually unscrewed it completely. So again, don't take it apart. Don't try to cheat the system. Don't try to get more out of this. It's best practice, at least for me. Drink it until it runs out of flavor. Keep it on a setting that you enjoy. I turn upside down and shake it just so I can get whatever flavor is hiding in there. And then that way I'm getting at least most of it out. And then when you're done, unscrew it, get all the excess water out of there, pop that bottom off, crank this up to 10, and then that way you squeeze it out and it's wide open, whatever's left in there, whether it's water, whether it's air, and whatever flavor's left. So just to review, if you want to separate it, crank it to 10, and then just go ahead and squeeze the rest out in your bottle for your last sip. When you put the next one in, leave it at 0 so you can get the flavor, or your next flavor turn up to like 3 or 4 so you get a mixture. And that's about it. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.